Hi everyone, I'm Jesse Lynn.
And I'm Angela Lynn. Welcome back to another episode of But Where Are You Really From? Today we're talking about all things sci fi, but actually reality. So we're talking about all the weird things that have come into being over the past, let's call it like 5-ish years, 5 to 10 years into like forthcoming, like near future of all these like inventions and innovations that once we only thought were possible in sci-fi movies and books, but are actually like kind of coming to be. I think we're just kind of reveling at the fact of like these things that literally were just fantasy. And then it's like, oh, someone's like trying to figure it out and it's like kind of working. So one of the first things that we're talking about today is the invisibility cloak. I always loved the idea of the invisibility cloak. Like, I don't remember if you guys ever played this when you were a kid, but like, I remember we used to play these like what if things where it's like, oh, if you had any superpower, like what would it be? Or like, here's like three you can choose from. One's like teleporting, one is like invisibility cloak, the other is like, whatever, whatever. And I think sometimes I would pick invisibility cloak just because I was like, oh, it'd be like kind of cool to just like sneak around and like no one knows I'm there. But it's like kind of a thing now, actually, where it's being worked on. I saw a video resurface. Seems like it actually came out like a year ago, this video, but I saw it recently resurfaced where China had come out with like a version of an invisibility cloak. And it was not like it was shown across like many different backgrounds, so it wasn't like just in a very lab controlled room where they suddenly disappeared. It was like out in the woods, it was like out on stage during the reveal of the product, but like many different backgrounds. And it did appear as if it became invisible, a person using it. And for me it was like, I thought it was cool, but I also immediately was like, oh, China's using China came out with this. Because I was like, if they're showing the world now, they probably have had this for a while. And I don't know who is in what like government secret access space right now. That was like immediately where my head went.
I think I've seen I think I showed you like one of the instructables that there's like a at home way to bufoo it using like a kind of like a lenticular panel, like a panel that refracts light in a certain way. But I do think it's interesting. I do think that the future is now in a sense, and we've all kind of are so caught up in just how many things are changing every day that you don't realize it. And in fact, when you were introing the topic, I was like thinking about when I watched like Blade Runner and all those movies, and I'm like, what a shithole, a futuristic shithole. And I'm like, holy shit, that is now. We live in a futuristic shithole. Because, and the reason I say that is like, I think there are a lot of great technological advancements, but I also don't necessarily know if they've all been created in the betterment of like the world, people in general. And that's one of the things that, we had been discussing when we were talking about this particular topic.
It goes back to human motivation. It's like, why are people inventing this stuff? Some element of it is definitely like true interest, right? And then there's another big portion of every industry that is motivated by money. And it's just like, we could sell this for a lot of money if we make it work. So, no, I don't think every invention is coming into being for the goodness of society. I think actually very few things are coming into society just for the pure sake of like the goodness of society. But that's just how capitalism works. So I don't know, like if you want to make this episode about capitalist philosophy or not.
No,
But
yeah. I mean, I think there are definitely really cool things that I think toe the line, right? We have like robots on here or like home helpers or things like that. Like those kinds of mechanical things, if you will, have been around for a while. Like I remember like way back when do you remember Asimo? Okay, it was like a robot that I think it's still around. I think it was like Honda created it. It was like a very prototype robot called Asimo. Very cute. I think it fell off the stage once or something like that. And like we've gone like so far with that in terms of like robotic movement and robots being able to like balance and do motor functions well But I think it's still very far from the idea of like, oh, you might have someone looking after your grandma one day so she doesn't have to go to the home, or like you have someone walking your dog per se. Like it's not fully there yet. But I think the advancements in movement is like very, very cool because like it seems really basic, but teaching something how to move is like really difficult. Like if you think about a baby takes like a whole year to figure out how to stand.
You've heard me complain about how weird it is to be an American-born Mandarin speaker because I grew up speaking Mandarin at home and have a passing native accent, but simultaneously sound like a child when trying to talk about real things. Since I realized no one out there was catering to people like us and decided, I'm just going to do it myself. I teamed up with my native Taiwanese Mandarin language teacher to create Real You Mandarin, a self-paced online Mandarin course built specifically for ABCs and ABTs. All of our content is video-based, realistic dialogues centered on topics you'd actually want to talk about, from dating and pop culture to media representation and growing up as a minority in a majority society. You'll learn the relevant vocabulary in the context you actually use them and be able to practice them daily with pre-built digital flashcards. You'll also be able to practice speaking by shadowing, repeating back, or following along with all of these dialogues to practice speaking at natural speed with the right pronunciations. Check out the course at realumandarin.com and get 10% off using promo code WhereAreYouFrom10. Let us help you express the real you when you speak Mandarin. Hey listeners, wondering how you can support us? The biggest way is by increasing our visibility by following us on Instagram at WhereAreYouFromPod, on TikTok at But Where Are You Really From, subscribing to our YouTube channel under But Where Are You Really From Podcast, rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, and telling your friends. The more people we can get to listen to the show, the more we can continue spotlighting different perspectives and stories. And if you feel so inclined, we're also accepting donations at buymeacoffee.com/whereareyoufrom. Thanks y'all. I don't think it's as far off, though, as you are putting it out to be, because I know, like, one of Elon Musk's 1,000 companies that he owns that revealed the robots recently. I mean, it looks really impressive, but we talked about on the back end, they revealed, like, partially was being, like, kind of remote controlled by, like, a human in some of the responses and whatever. But, like, I think it's very close, because if you take, like, where that robot currently is and its ability to do stuff, and then you think about like how far prosthetic technology has come. So like I was watching some crazy stuff where it's like, yeah, someone who's like literally paraplegic, like none of the limbs are able to be controlled normally, was like fully in prosthetics, like robotic prosthetics, and was able to like walk and do like hold things, pick things up and whatever, which is like crazy. So I feel like you just like, it's like so close. You just like link together some of these like different advancements, and I could see in the next like couple decades, maybe not by the time we die, but like, you know, within the relative short time span, like I think a robot could actually advance to the degree of like being able to cook your dinner, being able to like drive a car. Anyways, okay. Next up, we'd be remiss to not mention AI, but obviously you could go on a whole like thing about this, but no matter what you believe about it and like where it's going, if it's good or bad, I think it's like pretty undeniable that it has changed recent like productivity and like ways of doing things, even for average people. So I literally haven't used Google as a search engine since OpenAI came out, because I'm like, this is better. This is better than Google search because it pulls together all the actual search results, but in a way that's like more easily digestible for me. And also I can like ask it questions and stuff. So anyways, and I use it for like, yeah, productivity, where I'm like, here's like what I want to do, make it better. Like there's so many ways to use AI already, but that's just like scratching the surface, right? Like AI is so interesting, but it's just such a broad concept. And then there's just all these like, I don't know. I feel like you can get into a whole philosophical debate about all this stuff about like privacy and like nefarious usage of AI and stuff. But part of me is kind of like, aren't they all stealing our data at this point? Aren't we all being watched? Who hasn't had Instagram already served you the thing you talked about 2 seconds ago because they're listening to you?
I actually read something really funny that was like AI will like true artificial general intelligence will never happen because of what you're saying, where all the training data is stolen, right? Stolen. However you want to say it's borrowed by AI companies, which then produce AI results, which then are stolen by other AI companies that produce AI results. And then you just get this kind of like repeating process where at the very end you just get junk because it's just shitty AI learning off of shitty AI results. And I found that to be really funny and a possible way that this could go. But as I mentioned before we started the episode, I have like a brief bone to pick with this whole AI fad thing because please come for me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this happened like a decade ago. People were talking about AI a decade ago, talking about how algorithms are going to change our life, algorithms are going to blah, 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 blah. I see the promise of a lot of these things because I work in digital advertising and all of that's transacted programmatically, which means you could say that it's not AI if it's like a basic rules-based system, but there's some machine learning happening where some decisioning is occurring without human oversight. So there's a general idea that AI is happening in the background. AI does simplify our work tasks and make things possible in terms of like efficiency and effectiveness that would not be possible if a person was like plugging at it, even though a person can do that task. So I can't deny that part of it, but I get just like a huge, just like it just grinds my gears when anyone is just like says like we are now transforming our company into an AI company and AI will be the backbone of everything we do. I'm like, first of all, why does it need to be the backbone of everything you do? How is it going to be the backbone of everything you do? Like, I just feel like it's gotten to be this point where because the market loves AI, everyone wants to be an AI associated company so they can get their little like stock bumps from people being like, that's an AI company. It cheapens what artificial general intelligence should be, which is this idea that it is an actual learning, like independently learning thing. This whole like idea of a Terminator, like that is what I think it should be. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, this is not what we're talking about for me. And I just feel like the whole idea of it is just blown way out of proportion. Not from the impact. I think it could have a huge amount of impact, but the way that people are just kind of like selling themselves.
That's just corporate America. That's not really like, for me, it has nothing to do with AI because like you can literally, once you see the bullshit of the way that companies talk about themselves and the things they're investing in, you realize they're literally just copying and pasting like the newest words. Like one of the words that I was so fucking annoyed with for the longest time in like my recent career life was bespoke. I'm like, shut the fuck up, bespoke. Like no one says that in real life, but like suddenly 98% of like corporate America is saying we create bespoke services for what. I'm like, shut up. So I feel like AI is just it's just the newest thing. It's like it's the shiniest rock that everyone's kind of like picking into. And most people who say they're gonna be using it aren't using it anyway, or like not really, or not in the way that consumers like expect when they hear that you're gonna be like an AI company or whatever.
I agree. I think there are like really exciting areas where I've seen AI deployed. Like I've seen companies who are doing like diagnostic technology for like x-rays, MRIs and stuff, and the efficacy is like much better than that of a person looking at it. And obviously like the efficiency is much higher. Like you don't need to have a person looking at it. You can have this program run it and come out with a diagnosis right away. I think there's a enormous time savings for like radiologists and like other specialists where you don't even need to see one of them anymore. You just need to go to the lab and then the tech can give you the readout kind of deal. So I think there's like really great applications around some of this. I guess my hesitancy is just kind of like all of these great things that we could do with it are being, I don't know what you're saying. Like it's just being capitalized on in this way where I'm just like, oh, it's so yucky.
I mean, at a certain point, you have to just take the parts that you want for yourself, right? So like I haven't really been paying attention to corporate America, latching onto all that because I've exited corporate America now. And I can see through some of the bullshit. So, like, even recently, my brother was talking about, like, AI, AI. I'm like, I don't know what you're even saying. You're just saying the words AI. It doesn't mean anything to me the way that you're saying it.
I think when OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, it became like an arms race amongst like Google, Facebook, Amazon, each trying to come out with their own version of basically a chatbot, right? Because like if you think about before these models, Google had Google Home with voice assistant, so there was something there, right? Like some kind of machine
But it's
model.
so much smarter than any of those
Exactly.
things.
And I think what I want to point out there is that they're developing a specific kind of AI in competition with each other, but that is not all that AI encompasses, and it is not necessarily the pursuit of artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's a different thing because when you mentioned Terminator too, I was like, I don't think that's what people are trying to create right now. And also, that's a whole different debate, right? Like, will AI ever become conscious and blah, blah,
But
blah.
that's what excites me. I'm like,
You want it to be? I don't want it to be.
No, but I mean, if you can create something digitally that's conscious, then you can study it and better understand what is consciousness, right? Like we've had this conversation, like what is consciousness? What makes people alive? What makes people tick? Why you want to do certain things?
But once it becomes conscious, you cannot control it. And humans are the ones that are flawed. A robot, like a machine, a computer, a super intelligent, knows everything that exists computer that has become conscious has no need for the flawed human to operate it and can hack into machine like weaponry, into lockdown systems, into anything to obliterate humans that they deem as harmful. And that could mean anything in their little, definitions.
Yeah, but I think that's like the exciting part of it, right? Is like it is concerning, it is dangerous, but it's like if we're already going there, like what excites me is like more understanding of like our nature and using technology to explore that, which could be, as you mentioned, quite dangerous.
Well, this could go in so many different directions, so we are just gonna stop. Listeners, let us know what you think about not just AI, but just like this entire concept of moving into this era where so many things that no one thought could possibly be are like coming into existence. Whether they're perfect or not is a different question, but like just the fact that we're moving into this age. What do you think about that? Is there a specific innovation that you find really fascinating? What is it about that you like so much? Let us know in the comments of wherever you're currently listening to or watching this. And
as always, come back next week for a fresh new episode. And until then,
再见, bitches.